Hey everybody, Colin Wilcox, Extraordinary Concepts. It's going to be a big one today. We're going to go over artificial intelligence, AI, applying innovation, and the digital landscape out there. So let's get into that. So, like I was saying, my name is Colin Wilcox. Extraordinary Concepts. You got to put extra in front of ordinary to be extraordinary. And we're here with the Curiosity Mastermind, discovering the future of hospitality together. Excuse me. Let me just let you say that I'm powered by AE, which is authentic expression. So this is a one taker, So I may make some mistakes, but it seems like that's what people want these days of artificial intelligence. They want to see authenticity and transparency. Let me get this throat clear. Okay. So anyway, so this is Curiosity Mastermind, discovering the future of hospitality together. This is a lot of information, and it's going to be very powerful information, and it's really important. This is what's going on in this world these days. So AI, we're talking about AI, which is artificial intelligence and applying innovation. I like to say applying innovation. And then we're also going to talk about a concept called micromedia. And I'll show you how I'm using artificial intelligence to create micromedia to help combat the digital landscape, which is social media, which is not social media anymore. It's interest media. It's kind of getting changed. It's changing a lot, and it's going to change a lot more because of artificial intelligence and so on. So, just a little bit about me. I am an expert in AI, which is applying innovation. I've been doing it for 40 plus years, my entire career in the hospitality industry. I've always innovated. I have Guinness World Records. I've had, the most innovative in Las Vegas convention centers and so on. So, as you can see, I've got even the diplomas to prove it. Well, if you really pay attention, you realize they were created by artificial intelligence. So using innovation is very important, but I have years and years of experience as far as innovation, applying innovation into the hospitality industry. So this content is overwhelming. Some of this content will be overwhelming. So you got to be prepared for that. I mean, life right now is becoming a little overwhelming because of all the hype on artificial intelligence, and we'll get into that as well. But at the very end of this whole mastermind is I want you to be empowered. I want you to be excited, and I want you to be very informed and ready to continue to continue the future of hospitality. This is the problem. It's a problem with me. It's a problem with everybody else. We always hit and accept. And when we hit accept, we don't necessarily read the privacy policies or the terms of use. We just want the app. Give me the app now, and sure, I'll accept. Take my kids, not a problem. Accept. So we've all done that over the years, and all these big tech companies have taken advantage of it and got a lot of information. So they know pretty much everything about you. So you can't say, well, they don't really know this. They do. They know it. They're listening to it, and we'll see. We're going to talk about the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is artificial intelligence, where it is, where it's come from, where it's going, and so on. I want to talk about the hype. What the hype is about artificial intelligence, what's happening. When is it happening? Should I care about it as a restaurant? And what should I do? This is real. This is really, really happening. And if it hasn't happened, it's going to happen. And it's happened more and more often. You got Amazon's laying off, 30,000 employees. You got UPS laying off people, U.S. Postal Service laying off people. You got a lot of big techs, what's his name? I forget his name, but he used to own Twitter. Dorsey, Jack Dorsey, was it? So he has a company, and he had 9,000 employees, and he just let off 40% of them. He laid off 4,000 of those employees because he doesn't need it due to artificial intelligence. So that's getting bigger and busier and faster and so on. So you might say that to yourself that, it's not going to really let me off because I'm in the bar business, restaurant business. But you also got to understand what kind of customers are going to be coming into your restaurant, or are they going to be coming into your restaurant? So you got to be prepared for that. If it's not going to affect you personally, it might affect the people around you. Restaurant closures in 2025 in Massachusetts. The restaurants for rent, the restaurants for sale. There's no track here on restaurants that aren't closed, they're just struggling. And there isn't no thing here where they're just restaurants, they walk away from them. But this is what's happening in some of the restaurants. Now, I'm not trying to fearmonger you. I'm going to try to give you all the real information, to be transparent, and let you know what's really happening. This is the stuff that's really happening. And if we pay attention and we work together and sort of figure out what's going on and build a strategy, we can overcome all this kind of stuff. You know, you can definitely be a survivor and a thriver in this kind of situation, but you need to really pay attention and learn about what's going on. So this just came today, which is March 16th, 2026. This came into the news, and thought it was important for me to throw this in. But I say, please, no, no. Mandami, the new mayor of New York, is proposing by 2030 to have a $30 minimum wage. So $30. Now, is it going to happen? Who knows? But I mean, I mean, these things are just constantly kicking the restaurant industry in the nuts a little bit with all this kind of stuff. $17 an hour is high as well, but California is $20 an hour, I think, for fast restaurants. Or I mean, might even $20 a restaurant. I mean, $20 a minimum wage there, and it's 30. And it usually starts in New York, California, and they squeeze everybody in between. Massachusetts, I don't, I mean, I can see them try to push to 30, but so, in order to kind of combat a lot of this stuff, we're going to have to really kind of use some artificial intelligence. We're going to have to use some innovation to try to get it going. Because I don't think the hospitality business is going anywhere, but we have to just really sort of think smarter and use innovation to try to do that kind of stuff. So, I pray to God that this doesn't happen. It gets ridiculous, and I don't think that they think about small restaurants and mom and pop shops with the $30 minimum wage. Oh, just crazy. So today we're going to be learning or preparing and adopting artificial intelligence, but also innovation and so on. We're going to be trying to get through that, and so you can understand where you are or where we are and where it's going to go. We want to apply innovation toolbox. So when I say artificial intelligence, that's just a tool in the toolbox. But the most important word here is the innovation. We're going to apply innovation. And this is an example of toolboxes. So if you get the smoking bubbles on the martini, that's an innovation. You get interesting garnishes for food or robots or all kinds of other things. They're all innovations. They're all tools. So if you can put yourself in that kind of mindset that these are just tools that's going to help me with my business, help me prepare, and help me do, accomplish a lot of things that I didn't think I could accomplish, then you get the right mindset. And that's sort of where I'm going to try to push everybody today is to try to have the right mindset of what's going to go on. So this is the reality of it. So every month equals 1 year of growth. That's how fast it's exponentially growing. Artificial intelligence is growing exponentially. There's been no technology that has moved so fast and be so intelligent or so advanced as artificial intelligence. I think that that's one of the big things that some of the people are saying is that it's just even though the technology is so powerful, it's just no humans have never seen this kind of advancement, this fast. But that's what's happening. This is a tech crunch. This is back in 2008, 2007s, and so on, early 2000s. And one thing that you'd notice here, we're in a tech crunch now, wasn't back then, is that there's nobody with cell phones back there. Everybody's filled and jumping and having a good time. Not a single cell phone. Them were the days. Anybody know what this is that is watching? Yeah. No, nobody knows. Okay, that's okay. This is usually what happens when I show that logo when I'm doing presentations, and this is usually the response to that. So if you had the same response, I'm not shocked. This guy, same thing. There's a little guy over his shoulder. I'm not sure who that is, but we'll be talking about that little guy on the shoulder. And then this guy, he's all excited because he knows what it is. That's right. It's ChatGPT's logo. So ChatGPT is the one that sort of didn't start artificial intelligence, but started everybody sort of like going, oh, what's this artificial intelligence stuff? So it's the one that kind of, it was like the first horse out of the gate. It's not necessarily the winning horse currently, but it was definitely one of the first horses out of the gate for the public to see. And this guy says, yeah, I use ChatGPT. He's all excited, but this is also the big issue is that most people that are using artificial intelligence, the majority of them are just using it for emails or social media posts or different things like words, text. And this is just an example of what I use it for every day. Now, I use ChatGPT, I use Perplexity, I use Gemini, I use a lot of different things, Notebook LM. There's a lot of different artificial intelligence, so it's a large language model. There's a couple big ones that have that, but artificial intelligence is in all kinds of stuff now. So it's important for you to just sort of be educated and aware of what is going on, and then hopefully I can sort of help you with that. And I don't want to overwhelm you with that. I want you to sort of kind of take like little micro skills and, feel confident of how it can help you. So in the next 5 years, like where we're going to go in the next 5 years, what's going to happen by 2030? COVID was 6 years ago. And so 6 years ago, actually today, unfortunately, 2000, this day was 6 years ago when COVID came and I had to close my restaurant and I couldn't open it up. Period. Afterwards. So in 5 years, they say some people predict that within the 5 to 10 years, it's going to be equivalent to the last 100 years of technology. That much advancement in that short period of time is just going to be mind blowing. But I can see it happening. It's happening right in front of me, and that's because I'm paying attention to it. I'm basically I check it almost every hour to see what's going on, what's the next technology, and what's going on. And it's mind blowing how fast it's moving. So this is true. We are now in a new revolution. It's the AI revolution. There's the industrial revolution, and this is, there was the printing press and all those other things. This is the artificial intelligence, the AI revolution, and we're smack into it. AI will be and is currently starting to become a utility. Um, it's going to be in everything. So it's going to run your refrigerators. It's going to run your toasters. It's going to run all kinds of stuff. It will be everywhere. One, because that's how things are going to be operating. So your toaster will maybe communicate to your refrigerator and so on. And you might say, I just don't want that. I get it. I don't want it either, but it's happening. And the people that make these things and sell these things are going to, say, okay, what kind of food do I have in my refrigerator? It's going to tell you, do dietary. It's going to do all kinds of stuff. And if it doesn't do that, then there's going to be other refrigerations that might go out of business because they're not offering these things. But also, it's collecting data and other things that we don't necessarily don't want them to collect. So, what's the magnitude of what's going on? If you haven't felt the magnitude from me just talking currently, well, I'm going to show you the magnitude of what's going on and and what's happening. So this is like the presidential inauguration, when the president got inaugurated, and you just see just the structure of this one photograph. So the first row is Trump's immediate family, the second row is big tech, and the final row behind that is his cabinet. But the big tech, the ones that have only five people right there, their businesses are valued at $12 trillion, just those people right there. So they're bringing in the tech. The tech's coming in. Hey, yeah, what do you need, Mr. Trump? Yeah, I'm President Trump. Yeah, of course. We love you. Yeah, of course we voted for you. And then Elon Musk, this is just like a little side joke. Well, not a joke, but Elon Musk is wondering where Sam is. And that's Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. And actually, Elon Musk was the one that started ChatGPT. He financed that. And it was supposed to be open, meaning open sourced, and it was supposed to be nonprofit. So Elon Musk, and he actually built that to combat Google because Google was coming out with artificial intelligence. And then Google, and so Elon wanted to make sure that he had another alternative to, kind of slow down Google. And then Elon, got out of OpenAI because Sam Altman, now he wanted to do closed source and nonprofit. And profit for profit. So Elon Musk is kind of having a little battle with Sam Altman right now. So Elon Musk actually started his own AI business called XAI. And we'll get into that and sort of the implications. So Sam is not necessarily here with all the big tech people because he's right over here. Here's Sam Altman. He's with the Prez, So Sam Altman's over here with, I think it's Larry Ellison. And I don't know what the other guy's name, but he's from SoftBank. And Larry Ellison's with Oracle. And they offered, they made an announcement that they're going to invest $500 billion into Sam Altman's company. And then, so there's an investment. There's just money. There's never, ever in the history of this planet been this much investment into artificial intelligence. So if you think that this is just like a conspiracy or a side hustle or it's going to pass, it isn't going to pass. It's here. It's coming, and it's coming fast. Some people say we're getting into an emotional pandemic. So here they are. The horses are out of the gate. They're all running. They're running as fast as they possibly can. So all the big, I think they call it the Big Seven or the Mag Seven, which would be, I'm not going to raffle them all off, but it's like It's like Amazon and Microsoft and Meta and Google and OpenAI and XAI, and there's a bunch of them. You know, not a bunch. There's only seven, but they're big companies, billions and billions of dollars invested. The actual GDP of last year, I forget. I think the growth it was like 4 point something percent. Most of that was artificial intelligence, just the development of it. So this is what's happening. So right now, all these the big tech people are building the infrastructure. So there's about $5 trillion going to go into the infrastructure of artificial intelligence. They're not necessarily building railroads; they're actually building data centers, and the data centers are easier to build than railroads, but it's happening. So just in this photograph right here, it's not even a photograph; it's artificially generated. But four of them, Elon and Bezos and Bill and Mark, all those, they were the richest people in the world at one point. Now it's Elon, but I mean, this is some serious shit here going on. So they're doing it. The infrastructure is being built. So currently we have amazing technology right now, and the infrastructure is very small. And once this infrastructure is, completely built, it's just, it's going to be mind blowing what's going to be happening here. So here's one of Elon Musk's data centers. So just to get the magnitude of what's going on here, this is three times the size of the Pentagon. You can fit 174 football fields in this thing, which is crazy. But Elon, being the innovator that he is, also realizes that building data centers requires a lot of electricity. So that's one of the big things that China's might have an advantage on is electricity, and the United States is short on that. So Elon realizes electricity is an issue. Also, cooling data centers is an issue because they get really hot. So you got to cool them. You got to so that would be water, and also permitting and places and all this stuff to build a data center. This thing's enormous, and people are gonna try to build a lot of these. It's a lot, it's a lot to do that. So Elon, being the innovator that he is, he owns a rocket company. So now SpaceX and XAI, which is Elon's artificial intelligence, is just merged. So they're becoming one company. So now Elon is considering putting data centers up in space. So why is one? It's easier to permit. It's faster to build. It can cool itself because of the temperatures up there is cool as cold, and also it has infinite electricity power through the sun, and solar. So it's constantly sun. So Elon Musk is going to be popping up some satellite data centers that are going to be running his XAI, and maybe he's using that for all the other companies. He's always on top of that kind of stuff. Mark Zuckerberg, he's doing his data center, 5 gigawatts. A gigawatt can kind of like power a city. So his his data center is the size of Manhattan. So this is how big. This is the magnitude of what's actually going on today. Bill Gates, same thing. So they're all kind of trying to figure out like how we're going to power things. Bill Gates has made a 20-year contract with 3 Mile Island, which was closed, and he says, "Hey, guys, want to fire this thing up? I got a use for it. Let's do some data centers, with 3 Mile Island." So that thing is getting fired back up. So this is sort of this is actually changing a little bit, and spend a little time on this for a second. So these are some of the artificial intelligence stuff. The things on the left here, as you can see over here, is got this is OpenAI, this is Meta, which is Facebook. This is Grok, which is Elon Musk's. Anthropic, which is and that's Bezos involved in that a lot, and Gemini, which is Google. Excuse me. So one of the things that they try to do is that they wanted to eliminate chips going into China. So Nvidia, the big chip company, and for AI, and there was a law that says you can't give China chips. China stole some chips, got some chips in there somewhat, but they also figured other ways to do deep seek. So deep seek came into play from China, which is an LLM, which is large language model that competes easily with ChatGPT, and that's just building up. And then they also got other models like Quinn, and I think Simi or other things like that. So they're getting in. They're not quite as far ahead as us, but they're catching up and catching up quick. And then So all these things are all the LLMs that are going on, all the artificial intelligence. This is the foundation model. They call it a foundation model because essentially this is the layer where all the intelligence comes from. And then you lay things on top of that. If you want to have an intelligent refrigerator, it's communicating with an LLM or whatever. If you want to put together other programmings, but essentially the things you're buying, which is a token, which I won't get into a little bit, but these are the ones that are providing with all that kind of stuff, and they're also creating their own thing. So, an example, we'll get into agents a little bit as we go through this. Um, but agents are, I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but anyway, OpenClaw just actually was developed maybe a couple months ago, in OpenClaw is an actual agent that actually goes out and does things for you without you even, it can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It can call you up and say, hey, this is what's going on, and so on. So what's happening is people are producing these things. OpenClaw was made, Claude got pissed off at them, and then this is just one guy that started OpenClaw, built agents, and then OpenAI wanted to acquire him. I think they gave him $2 billion or something like that to come over to OpenAI. It's a real battle. It's a real fight. I mean, these guys are all fighting. Anthropic is fighting OpenAI. Meta is trying to, steal employees from OpenAI and vice versa. So it's getting a little messy out of there with all these artificial intelligence or large language model companies. These are the biggest companies in the world with a lot of money, and they're really kind of, they're really going at each other if you watch it closely. And they're coming up with different features. They're announcing things at the same time, and so on. So it's pretty crazy. So this is where we're at. We are in a Manhattan Project. So the Manhattan Project was the development of the atomic bomb. They put all resources on the atomic bomb to make sure that it was developed fast, and first. So we're in an AI race right now, where against China in robotics and so on, and the AI race is real. So China has Unitree and other robots. China has a ton of robots doing all kinds of stuff, and then we've got Boston Dynamics, and we've got the Optimus, which is Tesla's, and there's Figure, which is another robotics company, and so on. So the humanoid robots is big business. It's going to be the biggest business, more than automobiles. It's be the biggest business of all time. And so when you see Trump over here, so anyway, so even the Genesis mission. So I believe that the Genesis mission is that the government sort of said, okay, hey, we'll give information to these large language model companies to sort of make sure that they have all of the things that they need to make sure that they're ahead of the game and ahead of China as far as beating China to artificial general intelligence, which is artificial intelligence smarter than all humans. And then there's super intelligence, what's even smarter than that. But again, I'm not trying to get, there's so much we could talk about. I could talk about this for hours, but I'm just giving you a rundown of what's really happening. And it does tie into hospitality because knowledge is power. And the more you know, the better we can sort of position ourselves and strategize ourselves so we can dominate the hospitality industry. Trump saying F you to Claude. Claude is being used by the government to do some stuff. And then Claude said, hey, you can't use my product to do these certain things. And the government got all pissed off. And Trump's like, F you. And we don't want you to do anything. And so that's kind of something that's going on right now as far as a little battle. But there are some battles there. So it's here. I don't know if you were convinced, but it is here. Artificial intelligence is here, but it's also been here. People think, well, like, wow, I mean, is it coming, or when is it coming, or when should I worry about it? It's been here. This little guy here, it's in probably all your kids' rooms. It's in my kids' rooms. Could be in the house, could be all that stuff. But Alexa, I was talking to Alexa or Siri or whoever, you're talking to artificial intelligence. And it's listening, it's talking to you, and it's getting information, and it just knows all things about you and humans and all the things that go on. Also, your cell phone, sometimes you'll say, well, ooh, I mean, why am I seeing this ad? We were just talking about, ooh, that's spooky. But yeah, it's spooky because it's listening to you too. I remember, it was so funny. I was talking to my wife the other day, and the phone says, hey, I'm not listening, but if you want my attention, you have to say, like, hey, Siri, I'm like, okay, so if you're not listening, did you just hear? I'm like, what's going on here? So who knows? The phone's listening, they're not listening. Yeah, I think they're listening all the time. Why wouldn't it? If it's not listening, it's definitely, you definitely can find out what you said if you want to. So I'm sure there's some kind of device in there. Anyway, so yes, your device. It was funny when COVID came around and people said that I didn't want to do the shot. I don't want to take the shot because they're going to install some kind of chip in me if I do that. I don't want to have a chip in me. Well, the funny part is you carry around a chip right here, this bad boy right here. You carry that everywhere you go, and you'd rather lose your arm than lose your cell phone. So you have a chip. You're just carrying it with you. So there's just more things of artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence doesn't just mean like it can write me a paragraph and stuff. It's just technology. So this is just wave the wand and they'll make payments. You're gonna be talking to excuse me, menu boards and so on. They'll be talking back to you, they'll take your orders and so on. That's gonna shrink up the industry. That'll help with that $30 minimum wage, that's for sure. You're gonna have, so artificial intelligence has visual, so it can see things, and it can see things better than you can see things. So it can identify stuff just by looking at things. So there'd be visual inventories. So these are things that could be exciting for the industry. We can also have cameras just basically pointing on like maybe prep tables and so on. So they can see waste that you might be having or what you can do with certain things and all kinds of stuff. So you want to sort of think about the visual capabilities of artificial intelligence. And if I was to sit there and yourself sit in a walk-in cooler and just watch the walk-in cooler, what kind of advice would I give to the cooks that are coming in taking stuff out of the walk-in cooler? So artificial intelligence, you'll have eyes all over the place being able to sort of help you with the operations and so on, and we'll get further into that down the road. So again, you're going to have hologram floating menus. This is just projection mapping, which is just you can have all kinds of fun stuff on on the tables, on the walls, all kinds of stuff. Now, when I say this, when I say apply AI, it's applying innovation. These are all kinds of things. So we got to think way outside the box. We got to prepare. We got to be excited about it. It's just not only artificial intelligence is like, oh, write me, something for social media. It's going to be like, what else is possible. And all these other, just because the intelligence will be available, it's going to make other things that are just much more available. So that's where the future of hospitality, the future of this world is. It's going to create other people going to create interesting and neat, innovative products and concepts for hospitality, for pretty much anything. And so you got Flippy the robot. Flippy, he just does burgers right now, but there'll be a lot of robots, I'm sure, in kitchens. And then what they'll probably do is make it. That looks pretty big and bulky, but it works. It's in some places. Does fries and so on. But they'll probably make them smaller, make them more frugal, make them function. You bring them in, maybe you're renting them, you're using them or not, that kind of stuff. And then you got the robot cook, full cook. So this cooks entire meals. And you say, okay, well, I don't know if I'd use it for my whole line, cooking an entire meal, but that's okay. You might not use it at all. But what your brain has to start to think about is um, maybe that's a restaurant down the street. Maybe they're doing amazing meals out of that kitchen, and maybe they have no payroll whatsoever, so they can, charge like $7.95 for a full meal, and it's also delivered or whatever it is. So I'm a big independent restaurant operator, a brick and mortar. That's my heart. That's where it is. That's where it always be because I believe in people. People need to be with people, but also these are things that we got to be cautious of because it could be a restaurant down the street that does, it feeds people 4 days a week, and you feed somebody once a week. Whatever it is, you can't be naive that it's not going to eat into some of your customer base. So you got to be prepared for it. We got to come up with some fun, creative ideas on how can we combat the robot restaurants. And here's on a cruise ship. So here's a robot bartender. So this thing can make all kinds of drinks, these robots. Now it could be like, oh, just like that's just a neat thing, but I really want a real bartender. This thing's banging out some drinks and serving them and doing all kinds of stuff. But my kids, I have a 12 and a 10-year-old. And if this is their life and this is what they think, they were like, I don't want a human bartender. I need a drink. I like this robot thing. The robot can talk to me, it can sing, it does all kinds of fun stuff, it does tricks. it may want it. So we have to also be not be naive and be understand that, just me, I'm going to be 60, relatively soon. And you might be like, it's not for me. But yeah, I got it because I've experienced real human stuff and I like real human stuff. But the younger generation that's, what kids that are 5, 6, 10, they might say, hey, no, I'm all about artificial intelligence, all these robots. So again, we have to be prepared for these kind of things and these, kind of people and what kind of market, what kind of, generation is going to be just all in on this stuff. Robot runners, we got runners and that kind of stuff. That's happening now. All this stuff is happening right now. And then there's also a stigma on artificial intelligence. People like, oh my God, I would never use artificial intelligence. I want authenticity. I want real. I want all that. I got it. I understand. And I do too. I am an analog human being. I have been my entire life. But you got to sort of think, that what's the competition going to be doing? So, for example, this is a UGC, which is user generated content. So it's just something that's on Google. Somebody might have taken a picture of their pretzel. This is my pretzel, and and you like it. So I took that image and created this image with it. Now this image is a much better image than that one. This one's like a professional photographer came in and took it. Okay. So what a customer is going to say? Are they going to say, "Ooh, that was artificial intelligence. I'm not going to go there." I mean, I did this a year ago, so it's even better now. I could even make it look like this one. But they're just going to glance, and I don't think a lot of people are going to think and say, "That's just really good. I want to go. That's a good looking pretzel." That's your pretzel. It's just altered a little bit. Now you say, "Oh, well, Colin, it's altered through artificial intelligence." Do you know photographers take pictures, you know, and then when they take those pictures, they bring them back to their studio and they might colorize them, color correction, fix some of the lighting, do some tweaks, and then they give you that product. So it's not like, hey, I just took a roll of, film, snapped one shot, and you got that picture. No, they do the same thing. So they're essentially, a little hypocritical if they're like, hey, you guys are altering these pitches, but yeah, so aren't you. And again, I want to keep everybody employed. Don't make that come off. But even photographers got to say, hey, this is what's really happening. You can't these days with this technology moving so fast, you can't just say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move into the woods and be in the woods. I got it. So this is another UGC user generated content. So it's a fillet, and then you can just take the fillet with artificial intelligence, say, make it look like a professional shot. Same piece of meat, put it on a plate, clean it up, make it look good. Same thing, but it's that. Same with this, somebody took just a picture of the boat. Okay, I can maybe let's do a sunset and send it out during the evening. This kind of content, and people are like, oh, it is the place, it is the boats, it's the stuff. It's just a sunset, like that looks nice. Same with this, it's just kind of one of those things that would attract customers. The one to the left would attract less customers to the one to the right. The one to the right has more warmth, comfort. I'm like, oh, just I can't wait to be in my flip flops and be down there. That just feels great. Excuse me. Oh, I love coffee. Anyway, let's keep going. So this is a funny one, a fun one, but this is where the world is today. This is actually where the world was a year ago when I was doing this presentation. These are old photos, but they're way better now. I can do more now. But this is again, girls were posting a picture at a restaurant saying, "Hey, look at us," blah blah blah. I'm like, "Oh, that's nice. That's a nice picture." I take that and say, "Well, what it would look like if they had brunch items in front? Like, look at the brunch. That's exciting. Okay, these look great." Now, I know what artificial intelligence looks like and I can study it, but there's some people that have no idea. And then I said, okay, take that picture. It actually looks better than the picture that they gave us. They look, happy. They got some tans going. They got all their brunch menus items there. I said, take those and make them males. So now they make them men. So now we made them men. You know, one of the funky things is kind of like, this is like thing, or is it thing the one the fingers? They left fingers on the drink. They made a drink with fingers, which is kind of funny. But so there's fingers left on there. But like I said, this is a year ago, and this stuff is just fabulous and much better now than you probably. There's no fingers, and there's pretty much you have a lot more flexibility. There's actually with artificial intelligence too, you can scan this, and then it will break these things into elements. So if you wanted to make this glass move over there, you could scan it. It will break it up into elements, and you can slide the glass over there, make the glass bigger, make the glass shorter. So I'm just saying that you just got to be aware of the technologies around you and available. Think outside the box and take advantage of all the exciting things that are going on. Apply innovation. So why should you care? Why do I care as a restaurant? I'm a restaurant. I serve food. It's no robots. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. This is why you should care. And this is why you should have cared a while ago. But this thing right here to the left, this bad boy right here, it's the digital door. And 90% of the customers go through this digital door before they go through your door. So they'll be even sitting in front of your restaurant, and then just get on the phone. They're going to go onto your digital landscape, so to see what kind of environment you have. Maybe they'll check on the menu, do all that kind of stuff. But before they go through your door, they're going to go through this. And if looks okay, if the ratings are okay, if everything looks good, then they're going to go through your door. So that's the reality. You can't deny that. And then you're going to have this guy, so this guy is an agent, and I was talking about agents and OpenAI spent $2 billion on OpenClaw, which is, basically a crazy agent or a bunch of agents. But anyway, so Agent Bob over here. So people aren't necessarily going to be, actually, you're going to be agents are going to be going to look for your restaurant. It won't even be customers looking at your restaurant. And you're going to, be happy that your Agent Bob over here gave you the information and just, decided that that's the restaurant you want to go to. So like I was saying, they're going to go through the digital door first before they go into your door, the analog door. So what does that mean? You just got to be aware of it. So when they go through the first door, their digital door, you got to make sure that that's the beginning of the customer's journey. That's where you need to pay attention to the beginning of the journey from there till basically they go to sleep. So when they're using their digital devices, you've got to be top of mind. You've got to be have authority in the digital world. You've got to be on top of that kind of stuff because they will not go in your door unless they're satisfied through the digital door first. So we now have other business models, which is B2B is an old model, which is business to business, and there's B2C, which is a model, which is business to customers. We understand that. But now there's B2A, which is business to agents. So you got to pay attention to the agents. You got to know what an agent is, and you got to sort of be able to manipulate and sort of have authority with an agent. And you'll see further on, I'll show you a concept when we get into the digital landscape and the micro media, how I is suggesting and creating a way to deal with that, the B to A. So what is an agent anyway? An agent is a digital agent is an AI powered system that autonomously performs tasks, processes information, and interacts in a digital environment. So the digital environment, that's an environment we look at. Social media is a digital environment, but AI agents get a lot deeper than that. So the AI agent, a digital agent, you may say, hey, I'm, go out and take a look at like, where should I go tonight? It goes out, it scans the entire digital platform, digital landscape, fast and thorough, so you might go look at, let's look at this restaurant. Let's look at that restaurant. It looks at all the restaurants. It knows what you like. It knows what you want, and it will come back with your information. It digs deep, real deep. So now you have customers. So all your customers and the customers have agents, and these agents are actually going to be the ones that are going to be communicating to your restaurant. So you're going to say, hey, Bob, what do you think? Where should I go? I'm like, oh, this place over here looks good. So currently at this point in time, I think it's 40 to almost 50% of all suggestions from agents are approved by the consumer. So say call it 40%. So if you say, where should I go? Bob says, go over here. 40% of the customers are going to go over there without thinking twice. They're going to trust their agents. And we're just getting started. Your agents are going to be much more knowledgeable about you, your abilities, all the things you like, all the things your wife likes, all the things everybody likes. And it's going to give you a great recommendation on certain things. So as I was just talking about it, you're going to be talking to your agents. It's like, hey, I want nothing under 4.5. I want gluten-free options. I want nothing too expensive, family-friendly, and I want some entertainment. I like all those things. So your agent, as you're talking to it, is going to have a memory and is going to say, know exactly sort of what you want and your habits and the things you do. Currently, at this point, for 2026, 50% of the public is actually talking to their devices now. That's a 500% increase from last year. So 50%. is actually, talking to their devices. And they're going to continue to talk to devices. And the big tech companies are trying to get rid of the cell phone altogether. They want you to be able to basically have it, whether earbuds or whether it's just a pendant or whether it's eyeglasses and stuff. They don't want you to necessarily have to look at that device anymore because essentially you're going to be dealing with your agents. So they say by 2030, 80% of all social media interactions for restaurants will be AI agents. So 80% of all interactions will be through agents. That's a lot, you know. And you're going to just say to your agent, "Hey, I'm hungry," and it's going to know it's noontime. He knows sort of what you like. He knows where you are, and geographically. He knows the restaurants that are around you geographically, and he'll go out and order the thing. He'll look at the food. You could just say, "Hey, surprise me," and it's going to go and surprise you and say, "Okay, I'm gonna surprise him today. I'm gonna get him something he hasn't had in a little while, but he really likes." And he's gonna go out and he's gonna, go DoorDash, and that restaurant's gonna come up and he's gonna just ding dong. It's gonna arrive at your house and your food's there. I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much, Bob. I love this. Thank you for thinking of me. I remember when I had this last time and I loved it." Yes, so Bob will have that memory. Now, if you think I'm talking crazy, I'm not talking crazy. That's the thing. I want you guys to really understand. I am not talking crazy. A lot of these things can happen right now. So we need to position, we need to strategize ourselves and position ourselves to be able to handle this kind of thing. It's happening. You can't say it's not happening. Say it's not happening. It's gonna happen. How about that? But we gotta really stay focused on this. So here's this is what's happening. So people are going to have memory, they're going to have preferences, they're going to have things, and then the artificial intelligence, your agent will have an island. Have an island. So my island might be I have family friendly entertainment, affordable, gluten free, and I don't want anything below 4.5 ratings. So if that's me, my personal island, then anything without those things will not exist, won't even exist on my island. So a big one would be reviews. So reviews really matter. So if you're a four, even I think right now, Google Maps you can filter things out from 4.5s or fours or anything. You can throw filters in there, and then if you have bad ratings, anything below a 4.5, you just won't even come up. You won't even exist according to that customer. So if I'm a customer with, my island says 4.5 above, I'm with a party of 10 people. I'm like, "Hey, let's go get something to eat." It's only going to tell me, and I'm in charge of finding something to eat. It's only going to tell me where I'd like to go. I'm like, "Okay, let's go down the street here. It's got a great environment." So all devices will have AI. All devices are coming out with AI. All devices advertise and market AI. Just the Super Bowl that just passed, I think it was 45% of all advertisement was artificial intelligence. That tells you something. The biggest advertisement time of the year, Super Bowl, and 45% of it was artificial intelligent ads. So again, this is not a conspiracy. This is happening. It's happening. And again, I'm not trying to overwhelm you. I'm trying to get you prepared and excited, knowledgeable. But take on this stuff. We can just really dominate the environment if you have a strategy and we're thinking about the ways to do it. Here's cars. Cars all will have artificial intelligence in them. So that's going to happen. It's happening now. Tesla's happening, and you're going to talk to your car now. Google Maps, which is majority of people use Google Maps to find restaurants and stuff. Gemini, who owns Google, and Gemini is their artificial intelligence, and I believe that they've just incorporated Gemini into Google Maps. So when you pull up a map and you're walking around, it says take a right up the next lights. You might be able to say, "Hey, is there a McDonald's around here?" And it probably respond like, "Yes, there is. There's a McDonald's. So take a left. Like, let's go to McDonald's before I go back." Okay, let's go. So Gemini is starting to incorporate, or Google is starting to put Gemini, which is its artificial intelligence or an LLM, into all of its products. And Google owns a lot of products, and we all use them from YouTube to search and so on. And also, Gemini has sort of partnered up with Apple. So Apple is the same thing. You might be asking Apple about certain things, and Gemini will be involved in that. And so we'll get into that a little further down the road on how you can manipulate Gemini and the maps and Google. But that's all again part of figuring out a strategy and part of figuring out what's going on with this world. So But you might just drive in and say, "Hey, what's going on with the restaurant up the street?" He says, "No, it's a 4.0, but there's a better one down, further up. I'll take you there." And you're going to be okay with it. And then we got, like I said, we got the Meta is doing Meta glasses. I have a pair, and they're pretty freaky, but they're even more advanced. They get more advanced again. And then you got Google's coming out with glasses, and there's regular companies coming out with glasses. So glasses are going to be it is currently, and it's going to be something that's pretty powerful. It's artificial intelligence on your eyes. So, other things as a restaurant, what are you doing? Like, do you have policies for people wearing smart glasses? Now, you can't really tell my glasses are smart glasses. There's tiny little cameras on the left and right side. It does blink white, slight white when I'm recording you, but I can take pictures of you without that kind of stuff. You might have policies like, I'm sorry, guys, you just can't wear those inside, whatever it is. But then eventually that policy is going to go away, or people have ways of making it so it doesn't really matter. So people will be in your restaurant recording things. You're going to be walking down the street with your smart glasses. You see a restaurant, you're going to look at the sign, and the sign itself will just right off the bat say, "What's up with that restaurant?" It's a 4.3. You like 4.5s best. And down the street, only another block, is a 4.5 restaurant. So let's go to that one instead. And then you're also going to have your smart glasses. Customers will be wearing them. So your reviews, your positive or negative reviews, will be a lot more. So it's easy on Instagram now. Take your phone out, you take a picture, you do all the thing, you write stuff on your phone. But with your glasses, you just look at the entree and just say, "Hey, can you send this, put this on Instagram, and this is and write a comment about it." So they'll do that 5 times more. They do a video of it, videotaping the whole circumstances, the service, the food, the polls. It could be positive or it could be negative. You want to lean, obviously, towards the positive side. You want to encourage people maybe to use their glasses to do those things and so on. So, again, I'm not trying to overwhelm people, but there's some overwhelming stuff that's going on here. And as long as we know and prepare and strategize, we could dominate this area in the hospitality. Here's agents doing everything for everybody. So you're falling asleep, and this one's going to wake you up at 6, reserves a table for you, organizes the emails, creates morning workouts, email over sales, book flights to LA, all that stuff. I'm like, is this coming? No, it's here already. You can already do this kind of stuff. And it's getting way, way more advanced than that. Fast. We're talking like next month, and how about the next month and so on. The good news. Okay. Woo. We got to this point, which is the good news. Hmm. I love coffee. So the good news is you're early. That's right. You are early. You're not real early, but you're definitely early, and it's like, when will you not be early? I don't know, maybe a couple months or something like that, because technology moves so fast, but you are early. So we can use strategy. So what's your strategy? Let's just sort of think. And I'm going to show you a strategy on how to combat, doing the B to A, which is business to agent, and also how to try to do this kind of domination. So right here, his strategy is, I'm hungry. And it's just pointing to this one restaurant. It always goes to this one restaurant. Everything is pointing to this one restaurant. And I'm going to sort of give you my thoughts and my ideas on how to make this happen, how to manipulate and I guess partner up with agents so that you're the one that stands out often. So that's the good news. If you strategize, you can be this guy, and all the other restaurants are going to be like kind of sitting around going like, I don't know. Let's see what Joe does down the street. Let's see if he starts to use it. Or I'm like, hey, I dabble in it a little bit, but I mean, I'm just worried about my food costs right now. I got it. I understand, but this is what's happening. So you got to get on to what's happening. I can help you out with that. I do training and all those kind of stuff for managers, leaders, and so on. So anyway, let's get on. So I want you to get excited. It's very important for you to get excited because it's an exciting time. This has never happened in the entire planet, the entire world. This kind of technology, this kind of momentum has never happened ever in this world. The impossible to possible. So when you're thinking of ideas and you need to change your mindset, it's possible. So there's really, that's almost sometimes hard. When I try to get people to start artificial intelligence, I say, well, here you go. Well, ask it a question, and you just and you'll experience it if you haven't already experienced it when you're just kind of looking at it when you first pick it up. You're like, I don't even know what to ask. Like, what do you ask like the smartest thing in the world? I'm like, I don't know, what color is a basketball? I mean, it's just ridiculous. But that's the thing. As you start to learn how to use artificial intelligence, you'll learn how to ask questions, and questions are really one of the most important skill sets you can have is questions. And it's a thought partner. It's not the leader. You are the thought leader. It's a thought partner, and you want the partner to sort of help you go into certain directions and answers and so on. Excuse me. So the impossible becomes possible, really possible. You want to learn, so learn micro skills. So micro skilling is just that's going to be a skill in itself. Is to constantly be curious. That's why this is called curiosity. Is because it's something that you just will never end, and you always be curious about what's going on and what's next, and sort of be familiar with what is going on. It's just going to be like watching a show or something like that. You will sort of just have knowledge of the possibilities that are out there. So start to play with it. People say, "Where do I start?" You just get it, and start playing with it. Don't do the free version. Spend the $20 a month. It's well worth it. It saved me thousands and thousands of dollars. I've only spent on $20 a month on one. And you just start playing with it. When I say stop playing with it, you just use it, learn, turn it on, talk to it, type things in and then sort of see what kind of response, what kind of movement, how are you learning with it and so on. Learn how to work with it, I mean, how do you speak? And so on. And what kind of responses does it give me? What is an LLM? So this is like continue your micro skilling, continue to learn, continue to knowledge. That's probably the biggest and best. Some of the big wigs say the best skills you can have is curiosity and micro skilling. Just constant, learning. The times of you being, I'm like, I'm going to learn to be a lawyer, and I've learned this skill, and that's it. That's going to take me for the rest of my life. I have this one skill, and that's it. Those times are kind of ending, which is unfortunate, but also fortunate. There's new turf, it's a new opportunities that you can take advantage of. And then you also want to test it. You want to really push it to limits or push it to your limits. I did a push which I thought was fun and successful as far as I can, as far as the tests I did. And I did this over a year ago. I put two earbuds in my ear when voice became popular. Voice to text, or being able to talk to the artificial intelligence. I So I said, okay, ChatGPT, I want to do a test with you. My family's sitting here having dinner, and I want to pretend I'm a waiter. I'm going to wait on my family, and I don't want you to say anything while I'm waiting on my family. But when I'm done waiting, I want to come back and ask you questions on how my skill set was, what could I work on, and so on. So Chat was like, okay, I'm ready. I will not say anything until you're done. I'm like, okay, great. So then I approached my family table and said, "Hi, I'm Colin. I am your waiter, and I will be waiting on you today." And then my family, of course, you're not going to behave. They're just going to be obnoxious and so on. And I'm trying to say, like, what's the special? So I'm telling them the specials, the scrod and blah, 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 and go into it. And I'm like, and they're just asking me questions. And then I'm like, okay, can I take your drink order? What would you like? My wife wants a water with a lemon. My son wants, a Shirley Temple. My daughter wants root beer and blah, 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 just going. But they're just really being obnoxious. And then I'm like, and then, my wife wants a special, the seafood and whatever. So I come back after all the chaos and noise. It was really a bad, not well behaved table. I come back and I say, okay, chat, how'd I do? And he says, well, you could have had a little more confidence on the menu. You seemed like you were just kind of, stumping on the specials. You really didn't know what they were, or whatever the case is, but you weren't really that good on the menu, being confident and clear on the menu. And I said, well, what did my wife order for a drink? Because I kind of forgot what her order was. She ordered the water with lemon. And I said, "Oh, okay. And what did my daughter want?" And she said she wanted the root beer. And I said, okay, well, that's great. So, as bad as that might have been, and as crazy as it was, I saw an opportunity where this could also, maybe someday help with staff training and so on. So I tested it, and you want to do that. You want to throw tests at it. You want to really be crazy and try to break it, And then when you're starting to break it, you learn how it will respond to you, but you also learn how good you are in asking it questions or not asking it questions. So test it, like really push it, have fun with it. Now you want to prepare. So what we're doing right here in this whole process and lesson is preparing. knowing what's out there, knowing what kind of skills need to start with. But prepare also means data processing, and data positioning. All LLMs and artificial intelligence is all data. That's all it is. It operates on data. Data is its intelligence. It has all the data, but also you might have your own data. So you having your own data, and part of this data is also you want to, anything that I'm telling you here, you want to do your own research. Don't, I'm no LLM, I'm no, brilliant thing, but I know I've been working with it for over 3 years. I know if I've experienced it and tested it. And what you want to do is, is check the work. No matter, even when you do work with artificial intelligence, you want to check to make sure that it's, find out how real, how true the information that you're getting is, how reliable it is. It's getting more and more reliable. There were a time when it first is called hallucinations, when it kind of makes up things because it wants to please you. So hallucinations were really bad back in, a couple of years ago, and they're way better. I think they're up to 90, 95% accuracy now. So now, when I say prepare your restaurant, it's like data. So data is important. So, say you wanted to have some automation in your restaurant, or you wanted to have the staff be able to just sort of talk to your LLM or whatever it is, and like, what's a recipe? How do I make this? Or how do I do this? And so on. The artificial intelligence will require data. And so clean data. So you got garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. You get good data in, you get good data out. In a lot of restaurants, I'd say probably most of them, there's good policies, procedures, and systems, but a lot of restaurants, most of them, it's terrible. You got old manuals that you don't use anymore. You got a manual on top of a manual on top of a manual. You don't know where the manual is. You got version 1, version 2, version 10. You got all the kind of stuff. So if you can clean the data and we can sort of make it smooth and better, one manual, one information data, that kind of stuff, it helps. It helps for accuracy. It helps for policies and procedures. So when you're trying to get your business in order, you really want to sort of make sure data is clean and well organized, but it doesn't even have to be really that organized because artificial intelligence is really good at finding things. And then data doesn't necessarily mean I got to get on a computer and type all this stuff out. You could just take a picture of a document, and that becomes digitized in data. It can read documents, it can do things like that. So that's not as overwhelming as you think, and it wouldn't be as hard as you think. And you kind of dump it all into one little area, and then sort of have artificial intelligence help you sort it out as well. So, like-minded. So you want to be, you want to be around people that sort of kind of embracing the idea of artificial intelligence, or the idea of applying. I don't want to just continue to say artificial intelligence because it's not really fair for me to just push AI on everybody because it's not just AI. AI is it's an innovation. I will push apply innovation on you, where we have to think outside the box. We have to be innovative, and we have to continually strive and be excited about all the opportunities that are coming our way. But you also want to surround yourself with people that are also in the same boat as you in the same kind of conversation. And that's sort of what I'm going to be trying to do with Curiosity, is to have it industry based, which is hospitality and restaurants, predominantly. And obviously I'd like to do independent restaurants, but to be able to have a community where, I mean, I like to do in person, but they have communities that you do online and you do chat and stuff. But I like to actually talk to people. I like to, look at you in the eye and say, hey, what are you doing with it? How are you doing stuff? Are you using it to, for menu engineering? Are you using it to come up with specials? Are you using it for certain things like that? That kind of stuff. So it's important for you to kind of find a community that's sort of in the same boat, and then it will just help you grow, help you stay confident and get you excited about sort of what's happening. And adopt. So you want to adopt, so you either can do it or you cannot do it, and you have choices, and we'll walk through the possibility of those choices, or that kind of stuff. So, in micro bites, that's where we're sort of the overwhelm. We've got to figure out how to deal with the overwhelm. And I deal with the overwhelm by having just micro bites, micro lessons, skilling, little skills, little bite at a time. Try it out, even if it doesn't work. It doesn't. It does work. I just want to be aware. I'm like, okay, that's it. Ooh, I tried that. Like something might come out, like some kind of new image generated model. I'll just do one image generation with that. I'm like, okay. I see it or watch a video. There's lots of videos out there on how they did it. So you just understand the possibilities. You don't necessarily need all the skills. There's a ton of shiny tools out there, and everybody's going to be pushing all kinds of stuff with you. My goal is for you to not have to have that overwhelm. Is to think smarter, not harder, and try to find, what's the best case for me and how can it fit into my life right now. I might be too busy. I'm like, I got it. You're too busy. So let's try to do this little thing over here that may help. Let's try to teach your management how to just think, or how to just make, prepare for a manager's meeting and sort of have some kind of, intelligent dialogue and some real goals of how you can, advance in this industry. So micro scaling is just little bites, little bites. And as overwhelming as artificial intelligence is, these guys down here are putting all these hot dogs down with little bites. That's what they do. Little bite, little bite, little bite, and they put it down. So there is a lot to take in. I'm sure I've given you a lot, and I'm sure I've overwhelmed you somewhat. But, hey, these guys can put all these hot dogs down, so can't you? It may make you feel real full, but it's just like micro skill and just little bites at a time. And you'll be amazed at how much you can get done with just these little micro bites. Excuse me. Let me just. Okay, funny story time. So, like I was saying before, I've been using artificial intelligence for over 3 years. I've been doing AI for well over 40 plus years, which is applying innovation. And I've always been an analog human being. I haven't really been good at the old digital world. But anyway, so a funny story, this is some of my experiences so far. So this is me. This is me 3 years ago. I am. I have a really heavily dyslexia. I don't really see words the way other people see words. It's really challenging for me. So prior to about 3 years or so ago, I didn't use computers that often. I was always an analog person. People, looked up to me as being an analog human. I can build pretty much anything with my hands, very mechanical. My family's all hand artists. My brother was animated for The Simpsons and King of the Hill and so on, all the stuff. Everything we did was by hand. So computers, I didn't really like computers. I open it up, I get intimidated, I'd shut it, I could turn it on. So but I realized that after the COVID and the pandemic, I realized, and I sort of semi-retired, and I spent 3 years, 3, 4 years, 5 years even, on understanding what's really happening in this world. I thought it was very important for me to understand the digital side of this world. It used to be a minority was the digital, now it's the majority, and we're the minority. So in order to do that, a friend of mine, I would, call my tech buddy up every once in a while and say, "What's going on with tech? What should I know and learn?" And to do that like every Christmas. And then this one Christmas, he came to me on December 2022, and said, "You got to look at this stuff, Chat GPT." I'm like, "Oh my God, this is crazy! I can't believe that's even exists." So right off the bat, I said to my wife, "We have to start using this. You got to use it. I'm going to use it. We need to use this. This is something I can see is just going to happen and take over the world." And so we did. So we continued to use it. We started to learn and so on. So I went from this person here, like not understanding a computer, being frustrated, and being, skilled to the things that you're seeing currently, being able to operate this camera, being able to talk to a camera, being able to do this presentation, all these things. Guess what? Guess who taught me? My agent, my artificial intelligence taught me how to do all these things. So now that I'm getting this skill, now I understand the power of this tool. And as I'm starting to skill myself up and saying, okay, this thing can really do stuff. I can write paragraphs. I can learn words. I can understand this stuff. I know math. I know all the things. This thing was continually giving me skills. And I'm feeling more and more powerful, more and more confident, more and more the abilities, the opportunities in my head are just opening wide. I've saved thousands of dollars with like attorney fees and fixing my computers. I can take pictures of my computer and pull the entire thing apart and put it together. I even used artificial intelligence to take a picture of my truck engine when I had issues with it. It wouldn't start. And then I could give the technician what the problem was so they didn't have to dig down and search. Artificial intelligence got me all that kind of stuff. So knowing all the power of artificial intelligence, I would go to my friends' parties. When I go to a friend's party, I'd say, "Oh my God, you just got to try this artificial intelligence stuff out." I'm like, "Really, just please, you just got to try it. I'm telling you, this is the future. This is what's happening. This is what's coming." And they would just look at me, and they still to this day, sometimes they just look at me. I'm like, okay, Colin's here. The analog human being that used to build tree houses and do all that is now coming in with his AI attitude. And it's not an AI attitude. It's just something that I know that we needed to learn and I needed to get a skill set for. And essentially, I did it and I'm doing it for myself, my family, and my friends. And it's like you seeing at the, way up on a hill, you're seeing what's this, this kind of commotion. And you see robots coming over the top of the hill. I'm like, oh my God, like what is actually happening here? And I am the one that ran up to the top of the hill, introduced myself to the robots, got to understand their language, befriended them, and said, okay, I understand. I understand what you're here for. I understand what you're doing. And I want to be your friend. I want to use you as a powerful tool. And I've got other friends down here at the bottom of the hill that I would like to sort of, introduce you to. So, so me knowing artificial intelligence, my friends going like, please, Colin, stop talking, like you're really scaring me. And I got it. I'm probably scaring you all right now with what I'm doing here, but it's real. I don't want to hide this stuff anymore. It's like sort of when I'm, talking about dirty stuff when I'm like, talking about, artificial intelligence. So as I do that, now I get phone calls. So I get a phone call, from my friend, that calls me up, Colin, please, I need your help. Now this person would always call me for analog stuff. I need this fixed, I need that fixed, but he was panicking. Called me up in a panic, like, please. I'm like, oh my God, I just really need this done. He wanted a professional letter written from me to a town. Now I'm the guy that has dyslexia, terrible dyslexia, but he understood that I understood that I had skill sets with artificial intelligence. So I took that on. I said, I'm like, okay, I'll have this done for you. And I had all this professional letter written to the people that he wanted it done, and I had it done before he got to his destination. So people are contacting me now, knowing that this is not going away, knowing that it's a power tool and embracing it. So again, when I was saying I use artificial intelligence, this is just an example of what I use it for. Hopefully I don't get disrupted with my little dog behind me. But anyway, I'm going to continue to go. If she whines and cries, then that's going to be why. But anyway, so these are the things that I can use, like just Chat GPT for staff training, menu creation, custom reviews, food recipes, team projects, all kinds of stuff. So just Chat GPT in itself, I have used all these kind of things with it. So, okay, you could be at this point right now, you could say, Colin, you've talked too much. I'm all set. I'm just not going to go there. I'm going to wait till I see, what's going on. And I understand. You might just say, it's just overwhelming. It's too overwhelming. I can't do it. So in that case, Nelly, don't bark. My dog is going to probably stop barking, and I'm, hey, I love you. Don't do it. No, no, Nelly, no, no, I can't. I can't do that. Can't do that. Sorry if I have to. Like I said, I'm powered by AE, which is authentic expression. I don't want to stop this. I want to continue to go. So I'm powered by, so he's going to say, I don't want to do AI. I got it. So this is the guy that just doesn't want to go and do artificial intelligence, running a restaurant. I got it. So either you move forward or you move backwards. It doesn't matter if it's artificial intelligence or anything. That's what's really going on here. You're either moving forward or you're moving backwards all the time in the restaurant industry. And this guy decides, I'm just not going to go. I'm just not going to move forward. I'm okay. I'm just going to run his restaurant. And this will happen. This will happen. I promise you. There's going to be some like dive bars of things that are just still handwriting guest checks and so on that might be making it. But at the end of the day, this is going to be what's going to happen to the ones that aren't embracing certain technologies, applying innovation. It might not just be artificial intelligence. He's going to get in, he's going to drive his old clunker, to deliver food and so on, and doesn't realize why it's so expensive to go back and forth. He's got his own payroll, the paperwork and all the kind of things that we're all doing. We're all stuck in. We're working in our business instead of on our business because all the things that are happening around us, we just can't get, grasp. We're just trying to get business. So this is what's happening with this guy. So, but then he decides, hey, maybe I will learn AI. Maybe I want to take it on and see what's going on with it. So, boom, he's like going to use AI. So, this guy used a little too much AI in his restaurant, but his restaurant's full. He's got little Bob over here. If you haven't seen him, he's right over here. Little Bob, his artificial agent. And business looks pretty good. People look pretty happy. The food looks good. He looks pretty happy. He's doing what he needs to do. So this is a real thing. Things are moving exponentially. So his delivery, bang, it's being delivered, and there is delivery drones and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to decide not to be on the artificial intelligence or AI, which is apply innovation, fine. You don't need to be. And nobody's asking you to do this. Nobody's telling you to do it. But I'm just saying that the opportunities are out there, and this is what's really happening. Excuse me. And so he's got his agent. His agent's taking care of a lot of the operations, the business, the inventories, all the cost, and he's just kind of enjoying himself, and he can focus on his customers. And this is one thing I heard. I heard this from Gary V, which was, it just really kind of hit me. He's like, Gary V said, "Hey, people, technology is undefeated." And I hear it's undefeated. So it's not like you just can put it back, the genie back in the bottle. It's not like you can beat this thing or I just not going to deal with it. Technology is undefeated. The printing press was undefeated. People freaked out from the printing press and so on. So we have to sort of comply and we got to kind of be smart, use our brains and use this stuff as an innovation, as a tool. You need digital literacy. I didn't have digital literacy. I have digital literacy right now, and I feel much more powerful, confident, and capable of doing pretty much anything that's going to be coming our way as far as artificial intelligence and so on. So you need to be digital literate. You cannot say, I'm just going to push it off, go in the woods. You can. All that stuff is fine. Of course, you could talk to my buddy, Donnie. Donnie Dust, who he teaches classes out in the woods. He actually makes real tools out of rocks and kills things with his hands and eats them and all that stuff. No technology whatsoever with Donnie. So you can go that route. I can give you his number if you need me to. Paleo Tracks, he's a great guy. Anyway, so digital literacy is a must have. And have fun with innovation. So this stuff is going to be coming. Innovation. This is going to be things. I asked some restaurant owners, like, what's going to be your policy with robots? Can they? You're going to have robot parking outside? You're going to be able to let them inside? What are you going to do? So in 5 years or even sooner, robots are going to be walking around, and some people are going to be able to have their robot. And other things that you got to think. This is how I brain things because I've been doing AI, applying innovation my entire life. Families might have robots and they might throw their own party at their own house with their robots serving them. So those are also issues which could kind of screw up the hospitality industry. Not to throw any bummers, but you got to sort of think that. Or you're having your robots cater events or whatever it is. Don't sit there and say it's not going to happen. It's happening. So more good news. Hey guys, we got more good news, I mean, all this stuff, and just like you saw me, that I'm not only not technical, but I'm also dyslexia. So words and all that kind of stuff is very, very complicated for me. That kind of learning is very hard. But you'd be happy to know that artificial intelligence has taught me. It will teach you at your pace. It will teach you at your learning skill. It will teach you the way you like to learn, the way you want to learn, and so on. It will empower you. It will do a lot of things. You just need to sort of embrace it and know how to use these kind of technologies to help you with this kind of stuff. So you're not alone, and it's something that it really can. You'll be mind blown by some of the stuff, the things that you can accomplish. It is a partner. You are the thought leader, and it's the thought partner. There's two parts of your brain. One part of the brain is complicated, and the other one is complex. The complicated side of the brain, AI is really good at. And that's physics and math and technology and biology and all the things that you'd go to school for and learn all the lawyers and laws and writing and all that stuff. That's the complicated side of the brain. And there is your brain, there's a side of your brain that does that. And the other side is the complex side of your brain. And the complex side of your brain is emotions, it's soul, it's empathy, it's just really being with people, it's humanity. All that is the complex stuff. And the complex stuff, artificial intelligence will not be able to do. So it's your partner, you guys work together, you just kind of like turbocharging the complicated side of your brain. So it's you are the thought leader and it's the thought partner. It is a tool. It is an innovation for you. It's not something that you have do things, take over. It is just an extension of what your capabilities are. So what's your strategy? All this conversation and humbo jumbo mumbo that I'm talking about, do you actually have a strategy? Are you thinking about it? Do you want one? What's going on? I'm like, after I have this conversation of curiosity, what kind of curiosity do you have going on in your head right now? Who's your AIO? So an AIO is AI officer, or I call it apply innovation officer. And an AI officer could be me. I could help you out with some stuff, and we can walk you through it, or I can even try to train an AI officer for you. But it's just somebody that's in your business, in your four walls. It's sort of kind of staying on top of this stuff, teasing it, trying to bring people along, trying to bring the leadership and the management along, and that kind of thing, and just really sort of saying, next page, I think I offer an audit on what, where is your business? What kind of data do you have? What kind of, is this structure? Let's see. So this is the audit. Yeah. So it's, tech stack, everybody has a tech stack. Is yours even up to date or not? Database, is your data just all messed up and it's just like found in, your sock drawer stuff? Do you have anybody in your place have AI literacy or any kind of digital literacy whatsoever? Those kind of things, QR menus they have, there's the review automation, there's things that can kind of get more complicated, but scheduling tools, inventory tracking, so anyway, there's things that, as you start to go through this experience and this kind of literacy that you can add. But my big thing is that when I warned you about the overwhelming stuff, I just don't want it to be overwhelming. It probably is overwhelming. I mean, it's not really a choice because it is overwhelming. I'm overwhelmed. I'm a lot better. I have a lot more skill sets to deal with all this stuff, and I'm very familiar with a lot of the things and how to kind of get there. But like I said, we're just getting in, and I'm actually offering a free audit. It typically would be something like $1,000. It takes some time, where I come in and I really understand your establishment and. There's a lot of hours involved. And then when I would do an audit, I would probably try to come up with a strategy for you or for me or for us or whatever. They would say, okay, I understand these tools. I understand some opportunities. I would like to maybe try this little opportunity, or I understand where I sort of need to go to try to stay clean and up in advance. So in the toolbox, which we saw the other toolbox, this is the most important tool in the toolbox, and I can't emphasize that enough, is innovation. We have to be innovative. I'm gonna I'm like I realize this is going long, people. So innovation is the most important tool we can have. I might have to text because again, like I said, um, I am. Hold on a second. Um, I am powered by AI. I mean, by authentic expressions. So I got to I got to tell my daughter she's got to get herself off the bus. Need to get off the bus. Kissy face. Okay. All right. I don't like to edit, I mean, yeah, there's technology and stuff like that, but I like to just sort of keep going. So innovation is the most important tool you guys could have. I can't reiterate that enough. Innovation is not going to just be artificial intelligence. There'll be a lot of innovation that comes from this kind of technology, and there's a lot of innovation from regular technology. The future is now, so we have to take advantage of the future is now. So restaurants, you're going to be talking to your restaurant. That's going to be happening. Actually, Burger King is already starting to implement this stuff. There's a couple other companies that are starting to work on that. You got Toast IQ right now, so you can actually talk to Toast IQ and things like that. So um, you'll be able to talk to your restaurant like a human. You'll be able to say, hey, what's going on with our restaurant? Why is sales down? What's going on in the neighborhood? Is there any activities going on in the neighborhood? Did Joanne show up? What's my food cost today? And all the things. And it will tell you all the stuff like a regular person, help you train stuff. So you're going to say, what's that invoice? We'll give you that information. You're going to say other things like, stop my labor, what's my labor like, and and what was the sales, how do I fix it, send an email to my managers. You're going to be able to order things, can you order me some pans and day dots and all that. You're just going to be able to communicate. You'll even be able to have it set up like, what's my competition looking like, and what can I do to actually take advantage of the opportunities of the competition. What holes do they have that I can fill as far as the competition goes. And then you maybe, I mean, not many people read through insurance policies, like know all about the insurance policy. You just, you trust your agent and hopefully they're giving you the right policy. But, have it AI, fine. And so this is my policy I have. Can you go find something cheaper, or can you find something that's better for me? And have your artificial intelligence or agents kind of looking into that kind of stuff. And this is all the work that your artificial intelligence and your AI will be able to do and all this stuff. And you're like, that's a lot of stuff and it's going to be overwhelmed. It isn't. It is not overwhelmed. You can do this like in seconds. There's no issue whatsoever in doing that kind of stuff. And so you are going to have the artificial intelligence do all of that so we can do this. This is the most important thing we can do is you do this guest experience. And that's going to be the beauty of it. You're not going to have to really worry about working in your business, working on payroll, working on all these things because a lot of that stuff will be able to be handled by artificial intelligence eventually, and not eventually, like real soon. It's being worked on currently as we speak. But guests need us. Guests need you. Guests needs people to people for us to do it. So humanity needs us. Humanity is going to need us more than anything because of what's happening. And people are going to be like, I just want to talk to people. I want to be in front of humans, and that's where we step in. So that's where I think the big opportunities are. Is that human experiences are going to explode, and if you can get innovation, artificial intelligence, or any kind of innovation to take off all the crap that we deal with all the time and have that handled easier, so you can really focus on the person to person interaction and stuff. You're gonna go. It's gonna boom. So that's the opportunities that are here. That's the things to get excited about. That's the things that I like to talk about. Don't be this guy. They're out there, and if you want to be this guy, go call Donnie Dust and go in the woods with him, and that's okay. But this guy, I don't have a cell phone. I need a cell phone. He's gonna walk himself over to this old cell phone. It doesn't even work, and you got a drone overhead saying, "Hey, you need me to help you out." So don't be that guy. So I might just stop it right here and then come back because I got to see what's going on with my daughter, and then we will continue with micromedia and going over the digital landscape and what's happening with that because social media and the digital world and artificial intelligence, it's all happening and it's all going to be affected by what actually happens.